Have you ever wondered what would happen if the President of the United States just vanished? Not in a dramatic kidnapping, but quietly, behind the closed doors of the White House. Well, it happened. And for 24 hours, the most powerful person on Earth was missing in action, triggering a secret crisis that the public knew nothing about. This is the story of the president who disappeared. Let's rewind to the late 19th century. The country was in turmoil. It was facing a severe economic depression known as the Panic of 1893. Banks were failing, unemployment was skyrocketing, and public unrest was growing. The man in the Oval Office was Grover Cleveland, a president known for his integrity and stubbornness. He was facing immense pressure from all sides to fix the economy. But in the midst of this national chaos, President Cleveland was hiding a deeply personal and dangerous secret. For months, he'd been suffering from a strange soreness on the roof of his mouth. At first, he dismissed it. But soon, a rough spot grew into a noticeable lump. He consulted the White House physician, Dr. O'Reilly, who was immediately concerned. This was no ordinary sore. A top specialist was secretly brought in to examine the president. The diagnosis was terrifying: oral cancer, malignant fast-growing tumor that required immediate and radical surgery. The doctors were blunt. Without an operation, the president would likely be dead within months. Now imagine the implications. Announcing that the President of the United States had cancer in the middle of a catastrophic economic depression would have been like throwing a match on a pile of dynamite. The stock market would crash even further. Political opponents would declare him unfit for office. And the nation's fragile stability would shatter completely. Panic would consume the country. Cleveland and his inner circle faced an impossible choice. How do you perform major surgery on the President of the United States without anyone finding out? This wasn't just a matter of privacy. It was a matter of national security. It decided the operation had to be done in absolute secrecy. This is where the plan gets truly audacious. You couldn't use a hospital to many people. Too many questions. So, they hatched a cover story. The president, they announced, would be taking a 4-day fishing trip along Long Island Sound. It was the perfect alibi. A president escaping the pressures of Washington for a little rest and relaxation. Who would suspect a thing? The fishing boat was actually a luxurious private yacht, the Oneida, owned by Cleveland's close friend, Commodore Elias Benedict. As the yacht was being prepared, it wasn't fishing gear being loaded on board, but a state-of-the-art operating table, sterilized surgical instruments, and tanks of ether and nitrous oxide for anesthesia. A team of the nation's best surgeons was assembled, all sworn to absolute secrecy. They boarded the yacht one by one, disguised as casual guests on a holiday cruise. On the evening of June 30th, 1893, President Cleveland casually boarded the Oneida in New York City. To any onlookers, it was just the start of a presidential vacation. The press reported on his leisurely departure. But as the yacht steamed up the East River under the cover of darkness, the deck was being transformed into a makeshift operating room. The fate of the presidency, and perhaps the country, rested on the success of this clandestine surgery at sea. At 1 p.m. on July 1st, as the Oneida sailed peacefully through Long Island Sound, the operation began. The president was strapped to a chair on the deck. The surgeons had to work quickly and precisely, administered ether, and as Cleveland drifted into unconsciousness, they began the gruesome task. The procedure was incredibly risky. They had to remove a large portion of the president's upper jaw and 5 teeth. All of this had to be done from inside his mouth to avoid any external scars that would give the secret away. A single slip of the scalpel could have been fatal, causing uncontrollable bleeding or a deadly infection. For 90 agonizing minutes, the surgeons worked, with the gentle rocking of the yacht as their only companion. The sound of the ship's engine masked the sounds of the surgery. Miraculously, the operation was a success. The entire tumor was removed. Cleveland survived. But he was far from out of the woods. He woke up in immense pain, his mouth heavily bandaged. For the next few days, he was hidden away in his cabin. Recovering as the yacht continued its fishing trip, the public and most of the government remained completely oblivious. Vice President Adlai Stevenson had no idea he was, for all intents and purposes, one heartbeat away from the presidency. The 25th Amendment didn't exist yet, so there was no formal process for a transfer of power. If Cleveland had died on that operating table, the succession would have been chaotic. When the yacht docked a few days later, Cleveland was able to walk off the boat unassisted, smiling and waving to a small, unsuspecting crowd. The first part of the deception had worked, but his recovery was far from over. He was fitted with a prosthetic jaw made of vulcanized rubber, which plugged the hole in his palate and restored his normal speaking voice. It was uncomfortable and required constant adjustment, but it allowed him to maintain the illusion of perfect health. Just when they thought they were in the clear, a journalist got a tip. E.J. Edwards, a reporter known for his investigative work, heard whispers of a secret illness and a mysterious operation. He started digging. He found a talkative dentist who had assisted in the procedure, and piece by piece, he put the incredible story together. On August 29, 1893, nearly 2 months after the surgery, Edwards published a bombshell article in the Philadelphia Press, headlined "A Grave Secret of State Kept from the Public." It detailed the secret surgery on the yacht, the cancer diagnosis, everything. The story was shocking, sensational, and entirely true. So how did the White House respond? With an overwhelming campaign of denial? They called the story a complete fabrication, an outrageous lie designed to create public panic. The president's spokesman released a furious statement, calling the story a fake story with no foundation whatsoever. Cleveland himself, when asked, simply said the story was a monstrous invention. They didn't just deny it. They actively worked to destroy the reporter's credibility. The public, wanting to believe in their strong, healthy leader during a time of crisis, sided with the president. Other newspapers ridiculed Edwards and his story. His career was nearly ruined. He was labeled a liar and a sensationalist. The White House had successfully engineered one of the biggest cover-ups in American political history. The president, who disappeared for 24 hours to have a life-saving surgery, was back in the public eye, and his secret was safe. For years, the truth remained buried. Grover Cleveland finished his second term. The economy eventually recovered, and he retired from public life. It wasn't until 1917, 9 years after Cleveland's death, that one of the surgeons present on the yacht, Dr. William Keene, finally published his own account, confirming every detail of E.J. Edwards' original story. He revealed the full extent of the medical emergency and the incredible measures taken to conceal it. The story was finally vindicated, but far too late for the reporter who first broke it. This incredible episode raises so many questions about transparency, national security, and the public's right to know. Was Cleveland justified in deceiving the nation to prevent a potential economic collapse? Or did the public have a right to know about the health of their leader, no matter the consequences? There's no easy answer. It was a high-stakes gamble that paid off, but it could have easily ended in disaster. The story of Grover Cleveland's secret surgery is a powerful reminder that history is often shaped by events that happen far from the public eye. On a quiet yacht in the middle of a fake fishing trip, what do you think? Was this a justifiable deception or a dangerous abuse of power? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden histories.
Nice.
See you next time.